Okay.
Good afternoon and welcome on this cool afternoon. Appreciate you all coming out to listen to my speech today. There is a need to persuade you that our elected officials need to do a national referendum required to eliminate poverty within the United States, and why all three levels of government, the federal, state, and local jurisdictions, are essential to eradicate poverty. I strongly believe taxpayers can fully support U.S. poverty legislation for three main reasons. One, the United States is the richest nation in the world, and we can afford it. Two, states can track accurate objectives and goals down to each district level to ascertain the realistic facts on the needs of the people living in poverty. Third, local poverty affects each and every one of us indirectly and directly through taxation, crime rates, and charities. During and after this election, it's not really hard persuading you that our kleptocrats in Washington, D.C., our elected officials, have taken full advantage of corruption to extend their personal wealth and political power with total disregard to our own citizens. According to the Census.gov statistics for 2015, the United States has 43.1 million people living in poverty. The state of Mississippi ranks 50th in the nation. Within our very own district, we have 305,000 that fall below the poverty line of $24,000 with a family of four. It increases to 183,000 for people under the age of 18. And what the most dramatic, disheartening stat is that 4.6 thousand children under the age of 5 are stricken in poverty. While doing this research, I was incensed that the U.S. Congress was actually spending our hard-earned tax money frivolously with so much fraud, waste, and abuse. Mandatory discretionary funding for over the last 20 years approved to the Department of Labor proves that they are not working hard enough nor fast enough to eradicate United States poverty. According to Important Projects, Public Perception versus Reality, Americans drastically overestimate the level of funding going to the assisting the world's poor, consisting there's been no public outrage on the minuscule funding. Americans believe 20% of the funds, foreign funds, are provided to foreign aid, and they want to slash it to 10%. But in reality, according to USA.com, it's 1% at $22.7 billion that we get to foreign governments. Now that foreign aid actually goes to the World Bank and the United Nations with blatant disregard on how the money is actually spent to eradicate poverty levels globally. Unfortunately, these are just a few examples of why poverty and why it's not being managed or controlled. I want all of us to focus and be able to start today by persuading our elected officials to fully support the legislation, to rid ourselves of the entitlement society they created while they got wealthier and we stay inferior. It's time to spread the wealth by doing the following. One, the federal government needs to get away from continued resolution because nobody knows where that money actually goes and has a balanced budget. Two, we need to provide prevention-centric metrics to include all government assistance provided to citizens. Three, we need to change the ideology paradigm, Dems versus Republicans, when we're all Americans. Two, how do we afford to do this? We reduced the national budget from $773 billion to $523 billion for 2 years. According to Forbes.com, all we need is $550 billion to eradicate poverty. With that, defense reduction of $250 billion times 2 is $500 billion. Minus the time 2 on the foreign aid reduction of 22.7 gives us $45 billion. That only leaves us $5 billion short in 2 years, and I think that would be sufficient during the time. Now I've demonstrated the ways the government could fund poverty. Therefore, each state needs to do their part by doing the following in their states and provide it to Congress. They need to do a county-by-county accurate statistics on poverty. They need to provide an unbiased candy budget to Congress, the one that's actually required, and not put the coffers in their pockets. Attain affordable education and provide 21st and 22nd century workforce programs. Lunch programs for preschool kids to the age of 18 till they're out of high school. If they go to college, then provide full-time students lunch programs to get their meals for what they need to do. That's just a few ways that our states can provide, and here's a few ways that our local governments can do to resolve poverty within our own communities. Put the people first. Mayoral offices accountability. They need to provide detailed census surveys up to the state and provide it from the state to federal. provide safe housing, shelter, and food pantries into one areas or multiple areas throughout the state. They can be sponsored by large corporations. We need to have a law enforcement presence to keep law and order. We need volunteers from schools, organizations, and church ministries to go help those folks out during this 2-year period. We need to have education in high schools. We need to have sex education to know that safe sex is the way to prevent children under the age of 5 living in poverty if they don't have a true understanding of that sex leads to children, leads to more money out of your pocket. Finally, we have had the money management strategies of a balanced budget. We need to know how to take care of our budgets strategically throughout the years of our growth from high school to college to being an adult. In conclusion, it's important to persuade and hold our federal officials at all levels responsible to fully support our poverty legislation with the United States before providing funds for global poverty for over the 2-year period. States and district representatives need to provide accurate, unbiased metrics, submit realistic budgets to Congress to enable their constituents to get out of the poverty. Finally, with luck, you are enlightened and energized to make a major difference in the world. The Department of Labor has failed us and failed our citizens, but together, all of us can completely through the United States with realistic monetary objectives and realistic obtainable goals within the 2-year period, along with some personal sacrifice every day during that time, we can make a better place and get out of poverty today. Thank you for your time and enjoy your evening.